Welcome back on the AM show. Now, the Municipal Assembly of Yendi, in consultation with the Overlord of Dagbon, took the decision to honor their own by naming the Yendi stretch of the dualized Eastern Corridor Road after a man who is a former engineer, former politician, the first Muslim vice president of Ghana. I'm talking about Alhaj Aliu Mahama. Well, this morning, we'd like to speak to a number of people, beginning with the Municipal Chief Executive, Alhaj Hamed Abubakar Yusuf, on the rationale of this, but we also have in the studio son of this statesman. He is the legislator for Yendi, Farouk Aliu Mahama. He joins the conversation as well. Good morning, Farouk.
Good morning, my brother. How are you doing?
I'm very well.
Good to see you.
So let me start off with Abubakar Yusuf, the MC for Yendi. A very good morning to you, sir. All right, so let's take a view of this footage before we go to that conversation. Let's take a look at that stretch.
I am Alhaji Hamed Abubakar Yusuf, the Municipal Chief Executive for Yendi Municipal Assembly. You are most welcome to Yendi. I'm very grateful for the opportunity given me to talk about Yendi, especially to talk about the reason why we have named the dual carriage, the newly constructed dual carriage, naming it after His Excellency, the late Vice President of the Republic of Ghana, the person of Alhaji Aliu Mahama. Alhaji Aliu Mahama, as you know, was born and bred in Yendi here. I grew out to meet him as a contractor. He was called Lidra, that's the company. So everybody knew him as Lidra. It was until he became the vice president that the name Aliu Mahama really came out. Well, as a contractor, he was very popular around this area, not because of him, but because of his generosity. He was very generous. He appeared to be a father for all, especially within any time he came to Yendi. He was able to ensure that he visited all the stakeholders in the town. And before he became president, vice president, he was instrumental in looking for peace and for our development. Otherwise, every resources meant for our development will always be going into resolution of conflicts. This was not good for us. That was 1999. Later did we know that he will be selected as a running mate to Nanado, let alone to become the vice president. And luckily when he became vice president, he again continued as a vice president to see how he can resolve the Dagbon issue. But unfortunately,
And so that was the MC, Alhaj Hamed Abubakar Yusuf, speaking about that latest development. Let me come into the studio now. Farouk Aliu Mahama, a very good morning to you.
Good morning.
Thanks for joining us.
That's about to you.
Pardon me?
When I say that's about, you say nah.
Okay.
That's greetings.
Okay, so let's do this.
So that's why.
Nah.
That's good.
Okay, all right. So, I mean, let's start off from there, this dualized stretch and the decision to name it after your father. How much of an honor is it for you?
First of all, thank you very much and good morning to your listeners. And I say dasba to the good people of Yendi and to the overlord of Yendi, my constituencies, my constituency chairman, executives, and everybody. It's a humbling situation to find ourselves in this honoring state. First of all, we want to say a big thank you to His Excellency, the President, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, and the Vice President, Dr. Alhaji Mahmoud Bawumia, to even incorporate this development idea of bringing Eastern Corridor to complete such a befitting road status to make Yendi look like a city that is worth befitting. So I was privileged to have been part of the president and the vice president for the sword cutting of that stretch. And today, by the virtue of the government's investment in the road infrastructure, we are privileged to say that Yendi has been well positioned, and to say that to a status of a city. And for the vice president and the president to have invested so much in this in Yendi, it tells you that indeed Yendi is now well incorporated into the cities of modern cities in Ghana. And my late father, Alhaji Aliyu Mahama, was the first Muslim vice president to have come from Yendi, and for the first Dagomba to have risen to become the vice president. So if today they have named Yendi the main street after him, it is well befitting, and it states that every successful politician, not only my late father, but all politicians across the country, from the First Republic to the Fourth Republic, indeed have shown that if you really work hard for your people, the reward is always something that we will do. And I always believe in that. Motivated me to go into politics, and I believe that continuing the legacy of service from my father and my grandfather, Morigala, who was a minister and an MP from the First Republic, it's an honoring state to find ourselves being honored by the Yana and the Municipal Assembly. It's something that is well befitting. I believe that Aliyu Mahama really deserves that honor for being a Muslim and a Dagomba to have risen to become a vice president.
What do you think this does to honor our heroes and heroines?
Yes.
Because people often say that it's not worth it to die
Yes.
For this country. And how did the people of Yendi receive this news?
It's a welcoming news, and as we speak, the family and myself are putting together with Dr. Frimpong, SK Frimpong. We have identified a runabout in Yendi. We've started doing a beautification of the runabout, and we're going to put a statue, a befitting statue, Aliyu Mahama statue, on that runabout and commission it. On the 16th of November would be his 11th year since his demise. So on the 16th of April, we're going to have a prayer at the Zongona Mahama Palace, and we'll look at commissioning the road and the commissioning of the statue that have been named after the Aliyu Mahama Street in Yendi on the 30th. So it's a welcoming news, and the good people of Yendi are ecstatic. I believe the president and the vice president, I told the president when he visited Yendi, and he was really elated. The vice president is also happy. And the family of the Aliyu Mahama, the Zongona Mahama, myself, my siblings, my brothers, my sisters, and my wife and my kids are all happy. At least their legacy of service that our late father contributed to Ghana and the people of Dagbon is something that is worth emulating.
And I believe that legacy may have played a role in the people of Yendi actually giving you the nod to be their member of parliament.
Yes.
You've been in the House and you've seen developments. We'll talk about some of the latest ones, but you are gunning for another role, to another, well, nod from your people to go back to parliament. How is that campaign going?
Thank you very much.
And of course, we do know that there were some issues in there as far as even your party primary was concerned. Have you resolved that completely?
Yes. First of all, I took a bold decision to become a member of parliament after the demise of my late father, having looked at the contribution he had made. I've been a successful manager. I've risen through the ranks from cocoa marketing to become a procurement manager. I worked in Cocoa Board for over 12 to 15 years. And I decided to go into politics because of the legacy of my late father, having looked at the contribution he had made in politics before he became president, even before they were sworn in as president and vice president, and the contribution he made for Dr. Baumia, took Dr. Baumia around the country, and through the campaign of Dr. Baumia, he died. I decided to become an MP for Yendi, looking at where my late father came from. My grandfather was the Zongona Mahama of Yendi, so I'm a royal from Yendi and a grandson of Zongona Mahama in Yendi. So before I became a member of parliament, I had this vision called the New Yendi City, and to make sure that my vision was to make Yendi City. And before I became a member of parliament, it was my vision that within the 8 or 4 to 10 years, under my tenure as MP, the accessible road, the Yendi should be in a befitting status of a member of, to look like a befitting status of a city. And truly and behold, I even worked hard to even become a member of parliament. Even before I became a member of parliament, I had shown signs of leadership, employment opportunities, renovating the Yendi mortuary, employment people over 80, some in Cocoa Board, immigration, and all. And the people in boreholes, support for women, I set up an NGO, which was Partnership for Poverty Reduction. And this was a vehicle and a tool we're going to use to reduce the poverty levels in Yendi. So after that, the people of Yendi gave me the mandate, and I can state here that the trust levels of the people of Yendi, I was voted emphatically, and I had the highest votes in the whole North region. I won over 16,000 votes in December 20, and I beat my opponent over 16,000. And I became a member of parliament. And after that, I've shown signs of leadership. I'm always in touch with my people. Every weekend I'm there. Even a research done by a lot of research companies indicated that I was one of the MPs in the North who was always visible weekends, going to the North, visiting my people, giving them all they need. So the realization of this Yendi vision and the new dream and the Yendi city is what we are seeing today. Thanks.
Is that dream becoming actual?
A reality.
You mentioned the parliamentary figures. From the last election, you secured some, what, 40,624
yes.
votes, 62.14%.
Yes, yes.
Al-Hassan Abdul Fattah of the NDC, 24,755,
yes.
37 point something percent.
Yes.
Some say that this is going to be a more keenly contested election and that you just might slip up. Some people say you've not performed as much. So no. What would you say to such people?
They should wait for December 7th. The approval rates of my work as Member of Parliament, having succeeded former MPs, senior MPs in Yendi who have all done their bit. But I can tell you emphatically here that my developmental vision and what I realized for Yendi in the few years as Member of Parliament, the Yendi vision, making sure accessible roads, healthcare delivery systems, making sure that the employment opportunities, the youth development, the renewable energy that we are going to launch in Galugu, $90 million solar energy we are going to commission with the President in a few weeks' time, the Yendi market, the Yendi roads, the Yendi hospitals that we've built. I believe that I've performed to the satisfaction of the people, and I have the confidence of the people. And I can tell you that in politics, there are always people who come to doubt your effort. But that's a minute number of people, and they cannot thwart the efforts of what I've been able to achieve as a Member of Parliament. And I want to state here that I am on course to win over 20,000 votes in December 20th. I'm increasing my vote from 40,000 to 50 to 55,000 come December. Because...
So you feel you're going to make even further inroads?
Yes, I'm increasing my vote.
Based on what are you saying?
Based on the track
things you've already
record,
mentioned.
work I've done, health sector, education sector, road sector, employment opportunities. What I've done, where I've taken Yendi from where we were and where we are today, the new Yendi city that we are envisaging, that the videos are there for you to testify, that the people have trusted that whatever I said, I've been able to accomplish. Not all promises that you can say that you've accomplished, but I can say 80 to 85% of my promises has been achieved. And there's always a room for improvement. And let me state here that my competitor, the NDC candidate, has no track record, has no evidence. I became a Member of Parliament based on the work I had done.
He's not here to speak for himself.
Yeah, I'm just saying
so you can speak for yourself.
Yes, and I'm saying that I performed better and showed some signs of leadership before I was elected. Showing you, I can point to evidence-based projects that I did, water projects, employment opportunities in Ghana, the immigration service, the things I did, and the needs assessment of the people in the village. And if you look at the education projects that we were, since I became a Member of Parliament, over 50 street education projects, I've electrified over 60 communities, and we are here to do more. And before I became a Member of Parliament, we were not at that level. So based on my performance and all what I've done and assessment of all what I've been doing in the constituency, I believe that I'm going to win. There's an independent candidate, but that independent candidate has no significant impact in the electoral fortunes of the MPP in December.
So it's a straight fight between you and the NDC?
Yes, and I don't see it to be a fight. I see it to be a competition, but at the end of the day, the good people of Yendi know my caliber, they know my character, they know my track record, they know the evidence-based politics and the transparency and the open door policy and all the investments I've brought into the country through the help of the President and the Vice President and all the people of my constituency, the Chairman and the constituency executive. I believe that we have worked hard and we deserve another 10.
All right.
You were talking about what happened in 2024, the primaries. We have gone past that. I was declared the winner. I won the elections. The neck is the
but you know the manner. This, I mean, from the altercation with a journalist to
that's a sudden event. I don't want us to go about. Yes.
The rerun.
There's no rerun anywhere.
No. To the thoughts that there should be a rerun.
No.
To then what I found very interesting, not your contender Habibata.
Yes.
Herself coming out, but the party coming out to say that there was not going to be, this second coming or this second calling for votes and all of that in that primary and everything else. initially came from the party.
Yes.
Before she even said anything. Some people say there's still some bad blood in there. That was why I was asking you, do you have the support in Yendi to deliver the mandate?
I have the total support of the people of Yendi to be a member of parliament to continue. And I want to state it, the primaries was well organized and successful, conducted. I won the primaries. The disruption process came through.
Ballots were snatched.
Through her brother and all that. And after the party sat through, we counted and we came to NEC. NEC is the highest decision body of the party. And the party did their own analogy and they did what they had to do. And as a party...
But if I'm not mistaken, the EC had wanted to conduct the election
But the EC doesn't have a mandate. The political party...
No, but the EC had wanted to conduct it.
No, I'm saying EC, as you always know, three boss statements across about elections and being conducted by parties. There's a distinction between that. The party can take a decision to do whatever it wants to do based on its own laid down procedures. But I wanted to say we've gone past that because NEC has already affirmed me and I'm on the grounds and I'm working. And I believe that my issue is that successful elections in the future, there should be adequate security, adequate protection of the ballot, and they should reciprocate in the same way in going to these 2024 elections. Because if there's going to be a genuine elections that you know you are winning, there should never be a disruption or whatsoever in anything that we do. Not necessarily me as an MP in Yendi, but across all the constituencies and across the country. Okay. It should reciprocate and that there should be proper security so that people will not disrupt elections and call for a run. You can't benefit from your own crime.
All right.
Yes.
You are confident that you're going to win the Yendi seat?
Yes.
For the MPP?
Yes.
Time will tell.
Yes.
But do you think your party can win the presidency going into 2025?
Our party, led by Dr. Alhaji Mahmoud Bawumia, is not a vice president. It's not a vice president who wants to be.
And maybe I see you're going to wax lyrical. Maybe let me premise it on the back of you've heard Fitch in recent times. They have reiterated that per there. And the good thing, the interesting thing is, over time they've been proven right in past elections, including ones that favored the MPP.
Yes,
they've been proven right.
Yes,
and they are saying this time that it is inching towards the NDC. That there is a very high probability that the NDC and the former president will win the election. Global Info Analytics and a few others point in the same direction. So now you can go ahead.
Thank you very much. First of all, our flag bearer and leader of the party, Dr. Alhaji Mahmoud Bawumia, and the government of Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo has performed tremendously well in all aspects of the country. The economy, infrastructure development, which has never been seen in the Fourth Republic, the human development, the innovations, the digitization, digitizing economy, using digitization as a tool to do a lot of things that would truncate, we have to make sure transparency would be upheld high. Because when you have a digitized way of doing things, there's no interface in whatever we do. And all this has been led by our vice president, our incoming president, Dr. Alhaji Mahmoud Bawumia. Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia's energy and zeal to this victory that we are going for is so shocking. He has taken this election as if he's in opposition. He's had deaf ears on reports. He's had deaf ears on Fitch. He's had deaf ears on all manner of recommendations, which I'm coming. Because we don't want to work with predictions. The good people of Ghana are the determinants of who would become a president in December. So Fitch and Afro-Biometers yardstick by trying to project and say His Excellency John Mahama will win. That is not going to happen. We are going to win emphatically. The vice president is in Kumasi, in Ashanti region, Torin, all MPs, all two our members of parliament and the PCs are all working. There's no way we are going to sit down and leave any stone unturned. Until the last ballot is counted, we are not going to work with any predictions or any Fitch or any info analytics because the work and the good people of Ghana are listening to the good messages, are seeing the evidence of what we have done, have seen the innovations and what Dr. Vice President has done and what the President has done, and based on the President Akufo-Addo's legacy and the innovation the Vice President also bringing, to be a leader, you must be ready to solve. And if you make a comparative analysis of when the Vice President was Vice President and when Dr. John Mahama was Vice President, there's a clear distinct that both of them in that various roles as Vice President performed differently. Dr. Bawumia came with a lot of innovation. But the office of the Vice President, I can tell you that it needs a lot of thinking to work because the Vice President role doesn't really have a big role to work. You must have that innovation outside the box. And we can point to Dr.
What is interesting, though, is that usually, I mean, I remember the Vice President talking about some 30-something policies that he brought to bear, but when other things that didn't work are brought into the fray, then he's not part of that. But the question is, you talk about predictions. These same predictions you have campaigned on, canvassed, trumpeted in the past when it favored you. So I don't know whether it's different strokes for different folks. Now that the predictions don't favor you, it's a different story. But I have a question. In respect of, hold for me. In respect of strategy, you're basically saying you are turning a deaf ear to all these reports. No, that's what you suggested. So I want you to clarify.
No, I'm not.
Then,
please.
How is that shaping your strategy if you're not paying attention to what they are saying and maybe what could lead to a loss?
We have taken notice. But you see, in polling and being a pollster or giving predictions of what will happen at the end of the day, some might be, there are some accuracy levels. Some could be accurate, some could be inaccurate. We have taken notice of all these predictions that has been put out. The Vice President and the party have not really looked at it as something that is going to be a determining factor, a true reflection of what will happen. Yes, notice.
So you don't believe the polls?
It's not about we are working. The Vice President is working as if someone who wants now to be president in opposition. And that is how come, based on all these predictions, some are predictable, accurate, some could be predictable, wrong, but we are working as a party, and it's a trickle-down effect from the presidency, from the flag bearer to the parliamentary camp. We are all working. As if, for instance, in Yendi, the NDC pundit is saying he'll beat me in the elections. And it's a laughable statement, and he thinks he can win. And that is his mind. But at the end of the day, on the D-Day, it's based on my movement, my continuous campaigning, and that is what the Vice President is doing. And the Vice President has taught over 240 constituencies across the country. Compared to the John Dramani Mahama, he's not been able to do that. The Vice President is not...
How do you know that?
We know the records. And also the Vice President...
No, I'm asking, how do you know John Mahama has not been to these constituencies?
We are monitoring.
Follow him everywhere he goes?
No, we are monitoring. We are monitoring. It's everywhere the Vice President goes, we make note and we count and we know the determination of each electoral area and each polling station and each constituency he visits. Now, the Vice President has not... He campaigns up to midnight. He's not sitting down to say, based on what Ghanaians think or based on what Nanado has done. The Vice President is campaigning in rains, is campaigning midnight, and is campaigning to the last ballot is counted. That tells you that he's not underrating anybody. He's not underrating any predictions. But at the end of the day, the work and what he's doing, last minute election till the count, last ballot is counted, you can never know. So I want to say that the Fitch and other predictions that they've given, that is good to them. We've taken notice in every research. I've been to elections that severally they tell me, Farouk, you are losing the election. And based on that, I look at the SWOT analysis, look at my strength, look at the opportunity, look at my...
Which is what I was pointing to.
So the party has taken notice of it. And I believe that the Vice President being an innovative person, MPP being a party of intellectuals, being a party that is made up of people who are research-based, intellectual people who are strategists, will obviously look at the strengths and will go over. We've taken notice of it, but that will not be the true reflection on what is going to happen in December 7th.
All right, so the MPP is winning election 2024.
Yes.
You are winning the Yendi seat.
Massively. I'm winning the Yendi seat massively. I want you to take note of this.
All right,
yes.
Massively.
Yes.
You mentioned anyway, you're adding some 15% to your vote.
Yes. I'm winning over 50,000. I'm coming.
Oh, you're adding 15,000.
Yes, to the vote. Yes.
So the 40,
my worst performance
you're getting.
My worst performance should be 50,000 votes because I had 40,000, and we've registered new voters in Yendi, and we have over 20,000 new first-time voters in Yendi, and I have over 10 to 15,000 of them who are the new voters.
All right. Probably the final thing I want you to look at, Parliament and everything that has happened there. Yesterday, the Apex Court delivered a decision, but people say we have fundamental issues in Parliament, in the judiciary, in the executive. And let me just tell you, your colleague from South Dying, Roxanne Nelson Dafia-Makbo, has said that no problem, but another tool we can use is to ensure that Henry Quartey, Kennedy Ejapong, Sarah Asafo, you know their issue, which is pending. Yeah. We're going to push through and ensure that they vacate their seats or they lose their seats. Your reaction to that?
No, first of all, you see, Parliament as a whole, led by our Speaker, we've had very turbulent situations at the 8th Parliament. And it's clear indication that we had the majority. And having done a lot of successive things, it has been some we've been successful, some we've not been. And these issues that triggered our majority leader, Afenyo Markin, to initiate this process. You know, MPP is a party that believes in democracy and the rule of law. Our president and all the party and the Dankwa Dombo Buzia tradition is a party that believes in going through due process. What initiated our party to go through this process was to create a perception and to create a finality to this argument of making sure that future debates or future issues that will reoccur in future successive parliaments like 8th or 9th to other ones going forward would be a thing of a past based on what we went through, taking it through the courts, making the court educate, making sure the Supreme Court, which is the highest court.
So you were just following due process?
Due process, to make sure that whatever that would be determined and what has been determined would bring the finality to all this argument. Listen, my brother, if you look at yesterday, what happened, I've been in the court process with the majority leader and all the majority caucus and the leadership. Every time we go, I was there before they started, before the state of discussion, we came back to the speaker. The speaker declined to accept that. Serving the speaker with, I'm not a lawyer, serving the speaker with the writ. And
I get the point you're making, but for the sake of time, do you fault the Speaker of Parliament for what has happened? Do you fault him?
I believe that we would have managed this in a proper manner because the Supreme Court is the final determinant of any interpretation of the law. And that is how come the MPP used that way. It wasn't by coming into Parliament to have a confusion or creating a perception to the outlook of Ghanaians that MPs are not responsible and will be fighting at the plenary. And that is how come MPP followed that process. And yesterday, the finality of the matter was brought. The other people who dissented to the jurisdiction have been identified. The majority side, which was the 5, they came out, and we must follow this judgment. And I'm happy about this because it will bring a finality to future situations in this, so that if any MP is supposed to vacate the seat, that determination has been determined by the court.
Yeah, I'll give you 30 seconds to give your final words, but sneak in this for me in those 30 seconds. Don Omario says, please ask him about the Yendi Water Project and also the stadium that Baumia promised that it would complete in 8 months. He made that promise in 2019. Final words.
Let me see.
You can feed that in. Well, that's a message that was...
yes, the Yendi Water Project... It's a very innovative project the president brought. We did a shortcutting with the president and the IANA. If you look at the situation, I'm a procurement expert. Having known the mode of procurement which was being used to procure this whole contract. You look at Indian Exim Bank, the 30 million, what we went through and the procurement processes and what were the factors that led to. It was all boiled down to monetary issues. And when we couldn't do that, the president and the vice president have now come up with a new $10 million interim project that will drill boreholes to cater for Yendi for the next 40 years. So that when the party wins power... But
the water project hasn't been abandoned.
It hasn't been abandoned, and we've got the 10 million.
I think that's all I wanted us to clarify there. But thank you so much, Farouk Mahama, for joining the conversation. He is also vice chair of the Assurance Committee of Parliament and the Vice Chairman of the Food and Cocoa Affairs Committee. I wish we had got the time to talk more about cocoa.
You know,
maybe
Cocoa Board is my home, you know, so, and I'm privileged to have worked there and risen through the ranks to that level. And my grandfather was the first black chairman of Ghana Cocoa Board, yes.
Well, we wish you all the best in Yendi. Thank you for joining the conversation. That is the Member of Parliament for Yendi, Farouk Mahama, and also about the honor bestowed on his father, naming that dual-purpose road after Vice President Alhaj Aliu Mahama. Do stay with us. We'll be back with more action on the AM show.
Thank you.